Hello and welcome to Thursday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic and the return of Stripey Simon today. I'm still at my father's house. We still have no power at home. It's still an absolute nightmare, but I'm absolutely determined to keep the videos going, and I've got a wonderful looking puzzle to try for you today. This is called Lit's Killer, and it's by A. Frayed Knot. Now, A. Frayed Knot's puzzles are always wonderful, and this has been recommended to us by some of the great and good of the Sudoku world, so I think we're in for an absolute treat. I've just read the rules before. It's called Lit's Killer. Can't remember if I've said that, but basically it's a hybrid of Lits and Sudoku, and Lits is a logic problem that I'm quite familiar with, so I'm hoping I'll be able to make some sort of decent fist of this. We'll see, and I'll read you the rules in just a moment or two. I've got 2 or 3 things to mention first today. If you're into your competitive puzzle solving, there is a competition going on Logic Masters India at the moment, which is involving the puzzle type Rasi Salai. Now, you may remember that. I featured it in one of the genuinely approachable pencil puzzle videos that I did. It was a beautiful puzzle type, and that competition's been set by Prasanna Seshadri from India. Absolutely brilliant constructor, and I think it's an online competition as well, so you don't even need a pen and paper to take part. Definitely recommend that to everyone interested in that sort of thing. Now, the other thing I want to mention is I want to give a shout out to Sophia Gilbert over in Israel. Now, Sophia is the daughter of a very old friend of mine, and I was delighted to hear that she had become a fan of the channel. So this is wonderful. And Sophia, if you're out there and you're hearing this, let me tell you that your mother Karen plays a mean game of Connect 4. And I know many people watching this will have played a lot of Connect 4 over the years. Well, let me tell you, Karen Gilbert is a brilliant Connect 4 player. Now, other than that, oh yes, one other thing I wanted to mention. I tweeted about this yesterday. This little fellow, this little basset hound, this is the pet of Maria Maximov, who comes from Mexico, and unfortunately she's gone missing. So I just wanted to appeal really to anybody out there who may have seen a dog like this wandering around. Do get in touch with Maria. You can find all the details over on Twitter, and yeah, wouldn't it be wonderful if the internet actually could work a little bit of magic in this day and age, and find her pet for her. So please keep a lookout. I don't know how many followers we have in Mexico. I know it's some, so there is a chance. You never know. And wouldn't it be great if we could announce that the dog was found? So that's what I wanted to mention. I hope that's okay with everybody. Now, let's get on with the rules of Lit's Killer. The rules are as follows. Fill every row, column, and bold outlined region with the digits 1 to 9 once each. So you can see that we've not got 3 by 3 regions today. We've got sort of lion-shaped regions and question mark or backward question mark shaped regions. Can I assign a picture to any of these other regions? Well, that looks like the letter B. I think that's as good as I can do. Cells separated by an X must contain digits summing to 10. So there's a few of those dotted around, look. So what that means is if this is a 4, this has to be a 6. So we just have to make sure that the domino sums to 10 wherever there's an X. Now here's the Lits rules. So we need to shade 1 tetromino in each region such that all shaded cells form one orthogonally connected area. So a tetromino is just a group of 4 cells connected orthogonally. So it could look like that. That would be a tetromino. That would be a tetromino. Let's see if we can put an I anywhere. That would be a tetromino, etc. And what we've got to do is make sure that we put 1 tetromino in each bold outlined region, and all our tetrominoes must connect with one another orthogonally, which means share a long edge. Tetrominoes of the same shape may not share a border, counting rotations and reflections as the same. So what that means is, let's imagine we had this tetromino here. Now I've just managed to put it not in the same region. That's not intelligent. Let's put one there. So let's imagine this was a tetromino. Yeah, that's nice actually. That could not attach to this because this is both these two shapes. These T tetrominoes are the same shape because we count rotations and reflections as if they're the same. So this would be an invalid way of putting tetrominoes into those regions. No 2x2 area may be entirely shaded. This is an important rule because it means that what you can't have is any tetromino that looks like that. Or indeed, what you also can't do is, imagine we'll put our tetromino back again, you couldn't have those two cells filled. Because if those two cells were filled, we would have filled a 2x2 area with shaded cells, and that's not allowed. Now, here's an interesting part of the rules. Additionally, each tetromino must contain digits summing to less than 13. That is a serious restriction. And that's all the rules. So do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. Now, what I don't know is how difficult this puzzle is. So let's have a think about this. So I can see... no, I can't. I was about to say straight away that this region was restricted in terms of its tetromino, but I've just realised, I think I even did it in the example. You can put a T tetromino into that shape. I was thinking it had to be filled with just L tetrominoes, because any sort of long, stringy region is going to be a bit restricted. Good grief, how did we start this? The laptop's fan's turning on. It's like my brain's being asked to turn on as well. Oh, that one. Right, the backward question mark is a stringy region. And that's got no 4-cell orthogonally connected sequence in a sort of straight line. So that one does have to be filled with L tetrominoes earlier. So if that... Yeah, so we almost have to be a bit careful about the interaction between this region here and this region here. So I was just noticing that if this was the shaded part of the question mark region, you couldn't have any of these cells being filled, or indeed that one, because that would cause an L tetromino to attach to another L tetromino, and probably actually it would give us 2x2 problems as well. Okay, not really seeing much. Really, I'm not seeing much. Maybe it's the X's. Are they? Yeah. Hang on. X's in column 5. We have 2 along with a given 8. So these cells have to be either 1, 9, 3, 7 or 4, 6, which again, we've only got 2 given, so it's not exactly much of a restraint. What other rules? We've got this stuff about tetrominoes. Each tetromino must contain digits summing to less than 13. Oh, so 8 can't go in a tetromino. That's right, isn't it? Yeah, no, that's very right. In fact, 7 can't go in a tetromino either. Because if we put 7 in a tetromino and accompanied the 7 with very low digits, like 1, 2 and 3, and we said that was a tetromino, that would still add up to 13, and that's too many. Must contain summing to less than 13, yeah. So there is no... So this cell needs to be unshaded, which we'll make green. And 7s, 8s and 9s in this puzzle cannot go in shaded cells, but we don't know anything about... Ah, right, I see. So you can never have an X domino in a tetromino. Or maybe across a border you can. You definitely that can't be in a tetromino. And this can't be. Because let's imagine you tried to make this a tetromino. Like that. Well, we know those 2 cells add up to 10. Which means these 2 cells would have the task of adding up to no more than 2. And we can't double 1 this domino. So X's... You can have 1 digit in an X in a tetromino, but not both. But when it crosses a border, I think it's going to be different, isn't it? Because you could have a 4 here and a 6 here, and then the sort of pressure is relieved. So it's only going to matter for this one, and this one. It's not possible for both of those cells in each of those dominoes to be in a tetromino. This region, it's not quite good enough, look. Oh, actually that region's got to have... that's going to be it. Right, hang on. I hadn't realised that this 8... Well, I've now put it together. This 8 cannot be in a tetromino. So have a look at the revised shape of this region. It's become long and stringy again. And if it's long and stringy, it can only have L tetrominoes in it. But we also know, let me use some colouring, so we know that this red region contains an L tetromino. We also know this long stringy region contains an L tetromino. But those two tetrominoes cannot touch one another because of the rules of the Litz part of the puzzle. And that must be important. Let's just get rid of the shading there a second, because that's going to mean... I mean, surely that cell... Yeah, this cell cannot be shaded now, because if it is, we know it's part of an L, and you can't put a tetromino in here that's not going to touch this. And bear in mind, any tetromino in this stringy region is going to be an L, and then L touching an L is illegal. So don't let your L's touch each other, and make this into an unshaded cell. Now that only leaves 7 cells behind it in this stringy region. So the central cell of that 7 cell stretch must be part of a tetromino, which we know can't touch any tetromino in the backward question mark. So that's green, and the cell beneath it is now green. And that leaves behind it only 7 cells in the top left region. So that's got to be shaded now. Now, what about a cell like this? No, actually that would be okay, because that could allow... That would create this region, and that would allow that one to escape like that. Right, so there's got to be some way of... What about that one? If that's shaded... No, you could actually still fit in either this shape or this shape in the backward question mark region. Oh, but then this one... Oh no, that one didn't have to have it. This one nearly has to have L tetrominoes in it. Oh, that's so annoying, because this shape is possible in this region. I don't really know how to christen. This is almost like a Joshua tree, isn't it? But it needs a bit more of a trunk. So this is a sort of Joshua tree that's been affected by a storm. We've had plenty of those in the UK recently. But this Joshua tree can have a T tetromino in it, which could touch, obviously, the L tetromino we know is going to exist up here. So if this wasn't a T tetromino, then this would be shaded, because it would have to be an L, and it couldn't touch this, which is going to have to be an L. Oh, the sun just went in. I've probably become less stripy and less zebra-like now. Maybe it's connectivity, though, because... yeah, that... I'm just thinking about whatever we put in the top left has to escape from the top left via orthogonal connections, but cannot, in escaping, touch whatever we put in this stringy region here. This is like some sort of strange Loch Ness monster. Or a cobra or something. Let me think about that. So if that was in, how would this escape? It couldn't escape over the top. It would have to escape down one of these, and it can't. It couldn't escape through the Joshua tree, because the Joshua tree at this point is only able to make L tetrominoes. So it would have to escape down column 1. Oh, but that would have to be an I tetromino. Oh, I see, but then the I tetromino could touch an L. Yeah, the I tetromino can touch an L tetromino. But we've got to be careful here, because column 1 can't have too many grey cells in it. Because if it... Just thinking about that. If you had like that arrangement of grey cells, you've got problems there with 7, 8s and 9s in the column, because 7, 8 and 9 can't go in grey cells and they'd have to occupy the domino at the bottom, and that's impossible. So you can't have so if you do this, can you ever do that? That's maybe an interesting question. Can you ever do that in the question mark? And it's either going to be this shape or this, or that. It's either going to be that shape or that shape. Now, whichever it is, it can't escape through here because that's an L tetromino at that point. So the only way that this shape or this shape escapes is via a string down column 1, and that breaks the puzzle because that's too many cells in column 1 that have to be shaded. We can't have 7 shaded cells in one row or column of this puzzle because of the rule about tetrominoes having to sum to less than 13. So this and this are not both shaded, and that means that the shape, the tetromino shape not box 1, but you know what I mean, in the backward question mark, is either that shape or this shape. Now, if it's this shape, it's got to escape across the top because it can't get out through the cobra. So it would have to get out. That's beautiful. Right, that doesn't work. Let me show you why. If it comes out this way, which is one of its 2 shapes, it's only got 2 shapes remaining as possible. This is one of them. It would have to come out over the top because the cobra would have an L tetromino in it as well. So it has to come this way, which means it takes those 2 cells. Now, it cannot take both the X cells because then we know that the other 2 cells in whatever tetromino we build in this region are going to have to both be 1s, and that's impossible. So it must come to here. Now it can't be an L tetromino, so it has to come to there. But this is stranded. There's nothing that can touch this. Oh, no, I might be wrong. No, I'm wrong, aren't I? I'm wrong. This might work, actually, because this might be able to touch this here. Because if that's an I, and that's an L that goes this way, oh no, this doesn't work either. No, this doesn't work for the same reason it doesn't work down column 1. We can't have that many cells in row 1 either, because you'd have to fit 7, 8 and 9 into 2 cells at the end of the row. This is so clever. It's so clever. So I have finally managed to rule out this as a string, because that would be it's an impossible shape. Basically, you just can't put a tetromino that works in the top row. You can't have the I because of the 7, 8, 9 problem. You can't have that because these add up to 10 and that makes these 2 too small. So you've got to make this shape. And that means we can do this as green. Neither of those cells can now be shaded in the cobra. Otherwise, that's going to be an L touching an L. So those are green. That's green. It's isolated. That forces the shape in the cobra. Now this can't be shaded, because if that's shaded, that'll be shaded as well, and that's creating a 2 by 2. So that's not shaded. Same reason that's not shaded, or it will create another 2 by 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is definitely shaded. Now that can't be shaded because that's going to create an L touching an L. So this, you can see now that how does this get out? It has to come out through an I coming down column 1. Now that's just okay. That's 6 cells in column 1, which means the remaining cells have to be the 7, 8 and 9 in that column. They all have to be green, so we can green the bottom cells. This can't be shaded or it creates a 2 by 2. Oh yeah, now this is important actually, because in the B shape we've done our tetromino, so those go green, and the only way of connecting this region to the rest of the grid is going to be via something that comes that way, and that's going to be an L tetromino if it turns up, and it's going to touch another L tetromino. So that's green, and that's an L tetromino. This is out now, or it creates a 2 by 2. Now, do we know what this one does? Does this connect? or does it connect in from the bottom? The answer is I don't know. And this needs to connect as well. Oh, I tell you what, you can't do this. This can't be in, because that's going to give us 7 cells again. It's going to create an eye, and then this cell would have to simultaneously be a double Schrödinger cell. It would have to contain 7, 8, and 9 simultaneously, and that won't work. So this is definitely green. And now in the lion shape, this one, 1, 2, 3, how could that not be shaded? If that's not shaded, there is no possible tetromino that can be made. So that is shaded. Now you can't have a 2 by 2 in the lion. The lion's mane cannot be all shaded. But I think actually there are a few ways of doing that. I might be missing a trick, but I think I can almost draw every type of tetromino in there. Ah, but if that's not shaded, this has got to come down. So it's got to come down to here. And this has still got to connect. The left-hand shape has got to connect. So it's going to have to come over to the right. So this can no longer be shaded. Oh, that could be shaded if it was a T. Bobbins. Okay. That's nearly good though. So how do we get this one out then? That can't be shaded, can it? Because it would need to. Oh no, it could if it. No. No, that can't be shaded, because if it's shaded, it can't. It can only touch this via an L, which is an L touching an L, or that, which we know is an invalid, or this, which just strands it. It can't be orthogonally connected. So that's green. We know both of those can't be in. If that's shaded, how do we make a region there? Because that couldn't be an L. Yeah, this can't be shaded, because if that's shaded, you either have to build a 2 by 2, which is not going to work, or you have to build an L, which is also not going to work, given that this is an L. So that's green. We've now only got 7 cells left in this region. I feel like that must be doable somehow. Don't know how to do it though. So this has now got 2 options. It either comes out that way and down at the bottom, or it could perhaps come over the top and then maybe down the side like that. How do we decide which of those is correct? The answer is I don't know. How do I decide that? How do we make more progress? It's not going to be 7s, 8s and 9s, is it? Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. Okay, I've got quite a lot of grey in this row. I can only have 1 more grey. So, yeah, okay, so that can't be grey, can it? Because that's going to create a grey stripe there, and I'm only going to have 2 cells for 7, 8, 9. Right, that's out. Now, that's really annoying though, because that still doesn't really tell me how the lion is going to be shaded. It's not Sudoku somehow, is it? That could be interesting actually. I've suddenly realised that a tetromino, a tetromino that has to add up to 12 or less has to have a 1 and a 2 in it, doesn't it? Yes, it does, because 1 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 is 13. Right. Right, so maybe it's 1s and 2s that are going to be... Yeah, okay. In the I here, we must have a 1 and a 2, mustn't we? And that means in the L here, we must have a 1 and a 2 in exactly those places, which means that this is not a 1 or a 2. So we've got a 1 and a 2 in those cells. So we can't have a 1 or a 2. We can't have 1s and 2s in any of those cells. So that can't be shaded, can it? Because if that's shaded, I can make this a 1 or a 2, that's fine, but I need to put a second 1 or 2 in this tetromino, however it looks, and I can never get into row 2 or row 1, which is the only other places this can be. Good grief. So that's green. There's no 1s and 2s in here. I can only... Oh, this is so beautiful. Good grief. You can only put 1 of 1 and 2 in an X. So yeah, so where does the 1 and 2 have to go in this region? There must be one here, because I can only put 1 in there, and I can't put any in there. That's really beautiful. If that's what you're meant to do here, that is absolutely beautiful. So that gives me another grey here. We know you can't have a domino filled with grey, so that's not grey, which means it's green. That means that's grey, and we know that we can. Yeah. So now whatever we know, this must be a 1 or a 2, because we need a second 1 or 2 in this grey region. So that's an 8 or a 9. So this can't be, both of these now can't be grey, because they can't reach this, whatever this does. And that means that this L has to come out over the top, because it can't come out through this wall we've now built. We've built a wall of green. So those three all have to be shaded. And you can't attach an L to an L, so that's out. All of these are out, and that's forced. We get an S here at the top. We get something here, which must be an I, because if it goes there, this region is not touching the rest of the grey cells. So it must come out that way. This must be grey. That must be green. Sorry, I realise I've just clammed up. That's because I'm stuck. I'm stuck. That's what I am. You can't put 1 and 2 in those cells. And you can't put 1 and 2 in those cells, because if you had a 1-2 pair here, it obviously breaks this. So you've got exactly 1 and 2 in there, and exactly 1 and 2 in there, which means that, we already knew that wasn't a 1 or a 2. Okay. So where do the 1 and 2... Right. Yeah, okay. I think this is going to get very cluttered, actually, because I think if we think about where 1 and 2 go in this region, and the answer is we don't really know, but we know there must be a shaded 1 and 2, therefore, in those 2 of these 4 cells must be 1 and 2. And now, this is very interesting. This has to be a 1 or a 2, because if it's not, imagine in this sequence here, the 1s and 2s were just combined or confined to this triomino. Then this puzzle would have had all of its one. We'd have a 1 and a 2 here, a 1 and a 2 here, and a 1 and a 2 there. And these 3 columns, therefore, have all of their 1s and 2s in them. But how do you put, therefore, a tetromino in this with a 1 and a 2? This cell, again, would have to be Schrödinger-like and contain a 1 and a 2 simultaneously. That won't work. So in this tetromino, this must be a 1 or a 2. I still feel like this is difficult, actually. So does that mean this has to be a 1 or a 2, or am I going nuts? No, I'm not going nuts, because in this region at the bottom, I've got to put a 1 and a 2. These are out. I can only put a maximum of 1 or 1 2 in this pentomino, because if I put the 1 and the 2 in here, I've definitely got a 1 and a 2 in there, and I can't put a 1 or a 2 in any of those, and the tetromino at the top is broken. So you can only put 1 in there. That means that must be a 1 or a 2. And therefore, oh, that's grey. That's grey. So that's grey. So now this is green, because we can't connect a tetromino to it. Or that one's green. And no. I was about to get excited. Oh no, it's right. It's right. How do you connect the lion's mane to the left-hand side shape, whatever that looks like? It's got to come through. It's got to come through one of these cells in the sort of this region here. It can never connect directly to this region, so one of these must be shaded, so that's not shaded. Now this can't be a 1 or a 2, look, just by Sudoku, so that's a 1-2 pair, which means that's not a 1 or a 2. Okay, that feels like it's almost interesting, doesn't it? But so I'm allowed to have. Hang on, have I made a mistake here? I'm now worried I've got too many 1s and 2s. I've got 2 here. No, I've got 1 up there, haven't I? And I've got 1 down here. No, that's okay. That's okay, I think. So, okay, so how do we do this? How do we make this work? The answer to that is I just don't know. I wish I knew, but I don't know. Can I somehow, if that was this shape, this would have to be a 1-2 pair. That would have to be a 1-2 pair. I suspect there's some reasoning we can employ here around the remaining shapes and the 1s and 2s in them, but I can't quite work out what it is. Don't think any of them are coordinating quite cleverly enough at the moment. So maybe we've got to think about so if this was an L. Oh, I suppose if that's a grey, that's a 789 triple, which is a little bit interesting. If that's grey, we have to wiggle like this, because otherwise we've got a problem in row 6. Sorry, I can't see what to do. I'm sure some of you out there are shouting at your screens, but I'm stuck and I can't do it. So I need to have a think. Now, come on, Simon, have a think to yourself and work out what's going on. Can we? I keep looking at these dominoes that aren't 1s and 2s and wondering if we know anything about them, but it doesn't tell us that the tetrominoes add up to 12. It just says they add up to less than 13, so they could add up to 10, 11 or 12. Which seems like it's just a little bit too much leniency. Oh dear. Right, I think we've got to work harder on the shapes then. So let's just try and work that out. We know this is an I. I can't put an I in here, that's impossible. So what can we put in here? We could have an L, that would be legitimate. And that would mean this would have to probably be an S. Or is there some configuration here that's ruled out? That seems to be able to be a T to me. It can't be an S because it wouldn't connect down here. Can it be an L like that? Is there some reason? Oh no, it can't. Right, that might be it. That can't be an L. And the reason it can't be an L is that now what's this shape at the bottom? It can't be an L itself because that would connect an L to an L. And anything else is going to create a 2 by 2. So that doesn't work. So this is green. Now, is that somehow important? Might be. It might be. What about that one then? Can that be shaded? If that's shaded, this is beautiful. I don't think it can. I might be wrong, but if that's shaded, we've got to avoid a 2 by 2, remember. So these two would be shaded and that would be shaded. And that's creating an L, which again would have to connect to an L again. So that's not shaded, which means that is shaded. Oh. Yeah, so now we've got to avoid a 2 by 2 here, which means that must be shaded. Good grief, and that becomes a T. Wow, okay, I didn't see that coming. That's got to be a green. Now this can't be a T, but it never could be. But it could be an S. Oh, here's something beautiful. Whatever this is, where does it go in this T tetromino? It must go there. And that fixes a pair in this column. So these two can't be 1s and 2s. Those must be a 1-2 pair, which means we've got a 1-2 pair look in column 1 now. We can't have 1s and 2s. Oh, we can't have these as 1s and 2s. Oh, good grief. Right, so in this region, the only two places left for the 1s and the 2s are places that are unshaded and are going to become shaded. So that's the shape. So that's an L, which can't... Oh, so this can't be shaded, or it's going to be an L, so that's unshaded. This must be shaded, and it mustn't be an L, so that's unshaded, and that's an S, and that's the shading. We've done it, I think. Let me just check. We've got L connecting to I, connecting to L, connecting to T, connecting to S, connecting to L, connecting to I, connecting to S, connecting to L. I don't think I said the same letter twice. That is absolutely beautiful. So this square is not now a 1 or a 2 because of this 1-2 pair. That's not a 1 or a 2 because it sees a 1-2 pair, and therefore this cell is a 1 or a 2. This is not a 1 or... Oh, whoa. Sorry. That's not a 1 or a 2. One of these is a 1 or a 2. Can we work out... Yes, that's a 1 or a 2 in this T tetromino, which means that's not a 1 or a 2, and that's a 1 or a 2. And we've got a whole load of 1s and 2s in the grid. And let me look at 37. How can this be 37 minutes into the puzzle? How? That has just flown past. Now, how do we make more progress, though? We know each of these tetrominoes adds up to quite a small number. So there's a 3. Yes, so that must be a 4-5 pair, mustn't it? Because otherwise this is going to be too large. It can only add up to a maximum of 12. So that's a 4-5 pair. Now this 3 is... No, it's not actually saying very much else. Okay, well let's have a look at column 5 then. And let's go back to these exits I looked at the start. Because they can't be 1 9s or 2 8s now. So they're 3 7s and 4 6s. Which means these two squares are 5s and 9s to complete the column. 7, 4, 6. Oh, presumably that also... Yeah, no green cell in this puzzle can be a 1 or a 2, can it? So these two must also be 3, 4, 6 and 7. And this is looking interesting. Can we do something with that? Do these all have to be... Yes, they do. Okay, all these digits actually are a quadruple. They're a strange quadruple, and that's because these two can't be the same. If these were the same, you get the same digit in those two cells because of the x's. So you can see that if these were both 3, these would both be 7. So these have to be different, and once these have to be different, you can see that it's also true these are different because these are all in the same box with this one, and they're in the same row with this one. So this is a quadruple on 3, 4, 6 and 7. So that cell sees all of that quadruple. So that cannot be a 3, 4, 6 or 7 or 1 or 2. So that's 5, 8 or 9. Same is true for... Oh, right. Yeah, this is good. Okay, that one is better. Because this one also sees this quadruple, doesn't it? It sees these in its box, sees these ones in its box, and this one in its row. So that can't be 3, 4, 6 or 7, but this is in a tetromino, so it can't be 8 or 9, so that's a 5. That's our first digit after 40 minutes. Hello, sorry, I got interrupted. I had to go and help my dad make some lunch. So I've just come back, and I think it looks like I've just got a 5 in the top right of the grid. Now, I'm sorry about this because I will now have to totally reinvent my thought path. But these things are sent to try us and are more difficult at the moment with where I'm solving. So this cell, we've got to make sure this doesn't add up to too much, presumably. We've got to 8 already. It can't be more than 12. So that's a 4. Oh, okay, that's fine. That's fine. So that gives us a 5 and a 4 at the bottom. So that's not a 4 anymore, which means that's not a 6. Those can't have 4s in them. Ah, did I think those all had to be different, didn't they? They did all have to be different. That's how I got the 5. These all have to be different. So that's got to be the 4. Now, that's a 4, that's a 6. So that's not... oh, no, that's okay. So that's not involving 6. This is a 3-7 pair. So that's... so that's now a 4-6 pair, and we can fill it in. Here we go. And that's not a 5. So not a 5. I don't know what I did there. I tried to remove 5 from there. So I've got, what have I got in row 1? I've got 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. So I need 3s, 7s, 8s and 9s. I'm not sure what that can be. Let's just fill those in and see if we can spot anything. No, okay, I don't know. Right, where do we look now? We've got to put... We've got to put something in somewhere. Come on. Oh, that's got to be an 8 or a 9. It's on a 1, 2 dot. This is almost interesting. Look, that's got to either be... Oh no, that has to be 3, 7. It can't be 1, 9. It can't be 2, 8. It can't be 4, 6. That's 3, 7, although there's no 3s and 7s looking at that. That's not 7. Okay. Oh. Now I'm getting messages on Discord as well. It's all go. 4 can't go in those cells. So 4 in column 1. Oh. Yeah, 4 in column 1 must be in those 2 cells. So does that mean we've got to have 3 up here? I think it does, because if we had 3 down here, these would have to be a 5, 6 pair, and that's going to break our 12 limit, isn't it? So we've got to have... Oh, well, not only do we have to have 3 up there, but once we've got 3 up there, what are we going to put with our 4? It can't be 6, so that's got to be 4, 5, and that's got to be 3, 6, I think. That's now not 3, so we've got... So we now know the 3 is there. There's a 7 here. 3, 6, 4, 5. Now what about the B region now? The B region has all sorts of things in it. It does not have a 6 in it, which must, I think, go there. It's just a naked single sitting lonely as a cloud. Okay. This column's now got difficulties because it's got 5 greys in it and a 6. It needs 7, 8, 9. There's an 8 here. Bingo, that's an 8. That's a 7. That's a 9. That's not 9 anymore, so that's 8. That sees a 2 on its X. That must be a 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. If this keeps going like this, I'll wish I hadn't stopped for a sandwich now. Now, what's this? 3, 4. 3, 4 and 5 into these squares. Oh, whoopsie, that's a disaster. Hang on, 3, 4 and 5. There's a 3 and a 4 already in that row, so that's a 5. That's presumably resolved somehow. Oh, I tell you what, that 5 sees that 5 or 9, so that is a 9, and that's a 5. Now that's a 4, and that's a 5 by Sudoku, which means that's a 3, and that's a 4 by Sudoku. I really like this so far, because at the end of a sort of difficult Litz problem, it would have been, I suppose, expected, where does 5 go in row 8, for this to be a monstrously hard irregular Sudoku, but so far it's very elegant. Look, I've got a 1, 2 there, that's an 8, 9 pair in the last column, and in this funny little box, so those two squares are a 6, 7 pair, I think. I don't know the order. We know that's no longer a 7. So I've got an 8, 9 pair. I've got 7 at the top of the grid. I've got... What have I got in those two squares? Do we know? I've got 5s, 8s and 9s, and there's an 8, 9 looking at that, so that's a 5. So this is 8 or 9. I'm worried about this because this feels like I've put too many 5s in the grid. Have I put too many 5s? So where am I going to put a 5 in? Yes, where am I going to put a 5 in column 2? That feels like it's got to go there. So now how many 5s have I got? Loads. 3, 6, I've got 8. I need to put one in this row. I must be able to do it. It must go here. I've got this 8, 9 pair. And what do I need to put in the cobra? I've got to put 3, 4 and 6 in the cobra. And that square is, oopsie, my mouse is now going jittery, 3 or 6 only. So this is 3s, 4s or 6s. There must be, oh, yeah, okay, but there must be a 4 in there. And once there's a 4 in there, you can't accompany that with a 6 or the tetromino is too high. So this is a 10. This is, this tetromino adds up to 10. It doesn't even get to 11, which means that's a 6. That's a 6 and that's a 3. Keep going. Come on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 into 6 in this that region. The stunted Joshua tree goes here. This is 4 and 7. That 4. That's a 3. That's a 7. Ooh. I feel like I've got too many 8s and 9s going on in column 2, but I think it's okay. That's an 8 or a 9. Now in this region, I've not put 3, which must go here now. That's another 10 tetromino. And I need to put 7 in, which must go here. And now I need to put 8 or 9 in this column, which must go here. How do we resolve all of... no, I thought it might be that, but it's not. Okay, I feel like I'm missing a trick or two now. But I can't do with that, so let's think about... This square is interesting, because it can't be 3, 4 or 5, and it must be no higher than 6. So that's 6 and that's 3. And that is surely, yes, well that gets me a 6 and a 7 at the bottom of the grid. And now I need 3 and 9 in those cells, which annoyingly is not resolved. I don't think. They are, this is all in the same region though. So now in this region I need 4s, 6s and 7s, and I can see 6 can only go in one position. So this is a 4-7 pair. And that 4 there is nice. So 4, 7, 7, 4, 4, 3, 3, 9. Yeah, 8, 9, 8, 9. These 8s and 9s are a little bit disparate. 8, 9, 8, 9. That 9 is going to get me a 1 and a 2, and a 1 and a 2. Come on. Yeah, that 9 goes over here, and I can see that that's going to give me a 2, a 1, a 2, a 1. I must be on the right track now. I've only got about 4 digits left to do. That's got to be a 9, I think. So that must need an 8, and this region has not got a 7 in it. Is that it? I think so. Yay! How clever is that puzzle? The answer is prodigiously clever. I absolutely loved that. That is from start to finish a total joy. I loved the fact that just these seemingly innocuous clues like the X's, as you think about them in the context of a tetromino that can't add up to more than 12, it suddenly becomes clear, there is a restriction there. And the way the 1s and the 2s worked and actually forced, which one was it? I can't remember if it was this one. I think it might have been that one, or it was certainly around here. The right hand side of the grid, it forced the 1s and 2s. The 1s and 2s forced the nature of the lits shape. So the interaction between the lits and the Sudoku kept going backwards and forwards. It's just stunning. It really is. Afraid not. Take another bow. You have been genuflecting away, my friend, almost non-stop since you first appeared on the channel. Fantastic stuff. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got through it. Let me know in the comments. I do enjoy reading them, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.